Toronto's real estate market may be showing signs of cracking once again as sales start to fall. However, even with the reduced number of sales, housing prices continue to go up, and the sales to new listing ratio continues to increase, which tells us that the balance in the market is continuing to favor the sellers. So the question is Toronto's real estate market going to continue its upward climb, or is this the beginning of the end? But before I get into all the details, my name is Nolan Matthias, and if you want to thrive financially, this is the place for you. So do me a favor, hit that subscribe button and hit that like button so more people like you can see this video. And don't forget, you can still get my new book, Mortgage Secrets, totally for free just by going to mortgagesecrets.ca. All you have to do is pay the shipping and handling. And if you're watching this video, I'm guessing that means that you're in the market for a home, which means you're probably in the market for a mortgage. So knowing exactly what to do to get the best rate and what comes along with those ridiculously low-priced mortgages is probably a good thing to know. Okay, so let's get into it. The Toronto real estate market may be showing signs of cracking as sales have started to come down off of their May high. But there's more to this story than just that, because housing prices continue to rise, and on top of that, the sales to new listing ratio is continuing to go up, which means there's less potential supply available for buyers, which is going to obviously put upward pressure on housing prices once again. And I want to jump you in and show you the headlines here. This is from BNN Bloomberg. Toronto still a seller's market despite the impact of higher borrowing costs. And as we dig into the article, which I find these so useful because it gives the highlights of the actual stats packages that are released by the real estate boards. By the way, the Toronto Regional Real Estate Board has an excellent stats package, both from an easy to view perspective and from a more detailed graph perspective. But the headlines and the news articles obviously help us have a quick overview of that. So Toronto home sales slowed in June from the previous month. Home sales in the Greater Toronto Area during the month of June were up 3.2% compared to the previous year, hitting 1.82 million, according to data from the Toronto Real Estate Board. Despite the average year-over-year price increases, selling prices were lower in June relative to May's average. Now, as we jump into the actual TRREB market statistics, you start to see there's a really clear overview here from the perspective of their data. So first, year-over-year transactions up 16.5% compared to last year. But obviously last year was a pretty down year, especially compared to 2021. If you compare June, however, to May of this year, what you can see is that housing sales have started to go down. They're down 7% compared to last month when seasonally adjusted. And what seasonally adjusted means is that there are certain months when there are higher than expected transactions. So when you seasonally adjust May to June compared to what would normally happen in those months. And the tail of the tape here is that with sales down almost 7%, this could be a turn in the market, or it could just be an abnormality. And the way we figure out which it is by simply waiting and seeing what happens in the next few months. Now, average selling price year over year is up 3.2% compared to last year. This is different than Vancouver, which is down from last year about 2.4%. And then on a seasonally adjusted basis, June this year compared to May of this year, housing prices are up by 1.6%. So while we're down compared to last year, the trend is that housing prices are still increasing in Toronto, at least compared to last month. Now this is where it gets interesting because total new listings is down 3% compared to last year, but the sales to new listing ratio is up by 8%, which means that houses are selling faster and there's less months of inventory available. So in other words, there's less supply relative to demand compared to last year, which will put upward pressure on housing prices. And the question is, will this continue on this trend for the following months? And that will really be the tail of the tape when it comes to the Toronto real estate market. Because everything we're looking at when we look at stats and data is looking at yesterday's data. And we won't know what happens until we see what happens in July, August, September. My guess is that if interest rates continue to increase, and by the way, fixed rates are increasing right now, we're going to see the froth in the Toronto real estate market continue to cool. We may not see a crash because there are 500,000 people who moved into the Ontario real estate market last year, but I feel with reasonable certainty that we could see a flattening. Now, again, my caveat to this is that is not a prediction because people get really upset when I make predictions and I'm wrong, but the reality is that I rarely make predictions. What I am doing is I am taking the data that we have today and trying to infer from it what could happen tomorrow. But again, we don't know what will happen tomorrow, so we can only take a wait and see approach. And my advice, as always, is unless you're in a position where you absolutely need to buy, this may be the type of market where it pays to wait and see what happens in the fall, especially if any houses that you're looking at the moment are being caught up in bidding wars. Now, there's one thing that's clear. We have far too much immigration for the amount of new construction that is happening, and that is going to continue to support the real estate market. Now, could there be some Now, could there be some underlying weaknesses that we don't see? Maybe some Airbnbs that aren't doing so well that may come to the market, or just simply a significant amount of unaffordability that could come down the road as a result of unemployment. But the thing about economics, the thing about markets, is that it's never the things that are readily visible that cause market corrections or massive increases in the market. It's the surprises that have the biggest impact. And the question is, how long will it be until we see the next surprise, and what impact is that going to have on the Toronto market? It could both contribute to higher prices in the future or substantially lower prices, but we won't know until we know. Which is why when you're buying a home, you need to make the decisions based on a long-term horizon. I'm talking 10 to 15 years here in order to be safe. And if you want to know what's happening in the rest of the country, make sure you check out these videos right here.